Your creative force is trapped at a point you've never consciously touched. In the next few minutes, you will learn to identify and dissolve this somatic freeze, restoring in days the drive you lost without knowing when. There is a muscular cradle of creation inside your body, and when it jams, everything you try to manifest dies before it's born. It isn't lack of will, it isn't a mental block. It's a point of inertia that corrodes your vitality in silence every day. Abandoning this video now keeps you stuck in the same paralysis pattern, carrying a weight that has no name but that you feel with every attempt to move forward. Continuing without knowing where this locking lives in the body means pushing stones uphill without ever understanding why nothing budges. What's frozen in you has an address, and you are about to discover exactly where and how to set it free. That address is the iliac neck, the deep curve where the iliopsoas muscle folds over the inner rim of the pelvis before connecting spine and femur. It's not just anatomy, it's the portal where the impulse to move forward is born or freezes, where will becomes gesture or aborts before it exists. When this point is free, the body answers the slightest desire for action with natural fluidity. When it's locked, even the strongest intention finds no channel of realization. You will learn to dissolve this lock from the body, without forcing, without interpretation, only presence, touch, and breath. In hermetic traditions, the pelvis was the alchemical cauldron where celestial will descended to inhabit the bones, where intention fused with matter. The ancients knew that the heart's desire needed to root in the base of the body to become real. This knowledge wasn't symbolic, it was somatic. They understood that manifesting requires a muscular yes before any thought. What they called the center of manifestation, modern anatomy identifies as the iliopsoas, the only structure that integrates the spine and the lower limbs, the vertical axis, and the capacity for movement. Neuroscience has confirmed what these mystery schools practiced. Stephen Porges, in developing polyvagal theory, revealed that freezing is a primitive response of the autonomic nervous system, a state in which the organism shuts down when it can neither fight nor flee. This shutdown installs itself in the deep musculature, especially in the iliopsoas. Candace Pert demonstrated that emotions are not brain events, but molecules of information distributed throughout the body, concentrated where vital movements originate. The iliac neck holds somatic memory, trauma crystallized before language, a no etched into the fascia that keeps repeating. Liz Koch spent decades studying this muscle and called it the muscle of the soul, not out of poetry, but because it connects the vital center directly to action in the world. When this point freezes, everything that follows becomes rootless effort. When it responds, creating stops being a struggle and returns to being nature. The freezing that jams your creation doesn't begin in the mind. It begins in a primitive nervous system response called dorsal collapse, a state in which the organism shuts down because it can't flee or fight. This shutdown installs itself in the iliopsoas, the deepest core muscle, and remains there as an involuntary pattern. It isn't laziness, it isn't lack of discipline. It's the body that learned not to respond, not to move forward, not to manifest, because one day manifesting meant danger. The difference between somatic inertia and mental block is this: you can have clarity about what you want to do, enough energy, even conscious motivation. But when you try to act, something in the body simply doesn't follow. There's a disconnect between intention and execution, as if the command never reaches the muscles. You feel weight in the hips, stiffness when walking, breath that doesn't descend below the chest. You feel unmotivated without an apparent cause. A tiredness sleep doesn't resolve, a will that dies before it becomes movement. This freeze holds a story. It holds the moment when your body decided that expressing impulse was dangerous. Perhaps a childhood where creating was punished, a family environment where desire generated shame, contexts where showing will resulted in rejection. The body recorded, moving forward hurts, and the iliopsoas, the muscle of primordial action, contracted into a permanent no. This no doesn't need thought to repeat itself. It lives in the fascia, in muscular tonicity, in the way you breathe without noticing. Worse, this pattern may have begun before you were born. Research in epigenetics shows that trauma is transmitted biologically across generations. Patterns of nervous activation, hormonal markers of stress, freezing responses, all of this can be inherited. Your body may be responding to threats your grandparents lived through, wars your great-grandparents endured, forced migrations your lineages carried. The iliac neck does not hold only your personal trauma, it carries the no of all who came before you. Shamanic traditions have always known this. Somatic healing was not only for the individual, it was to restore the vital flow of the entire lineage. The body was seen as a vessel of collective memories, and releasing a point of freezing meant releasing ancestral weight as well. Hermeticism taught that what was locked in the past remains locked in the present until it is consciously dissolved. Dissolving the freeze of the iliac neck is not merely releasing muscular tension, it is breaking a chain that runs through generations. But how do you undo something that installed itself before language, before conscious memory? Not with talk therapy, not with positive thinking, not with ordinary stretching. It is through a vibrational ritual that speaks directly to the body in the only language it understands: touch, breath, and presence. This ritual has 3 integrated layers, each essential. The first layer is location and conscious touch. The second is directed breathing. The third is somatic listening. Begin by locating the iliac neck anatomically. Lie on your back, knees bent, feet on the floor. Bring your fingers to the inner upper rim of the pelvis, just below the hip bone, where the basin curves inward. Press gently toward the center of the body and slightly downward, as if you were reaching for something deep. You may feel resistance, density, even a tender point that seems to say, "Don't come in here." That's the point. Maintain firm but never violent pressure for 30 to 60 seconds. The touch is not trying to force an opening. It is telling the body, "I'm here. You can release now." It's an invitation, not an invasion. The body needs to know that this time, letting go is safe. That there will be no punishment, rejection, or collapse if it allows the freeze to dissolve. While you maintain the pressure, breathe deeply, and here comes the second layer of the ritual. The breath cannot be shallow, cannot get stuck in the chest. It needs to descend to the lower belly, to the base of the pelvis. Inhale through the nose, expanding the abdomen as if the air could reach your hips. Exhale slowly, allowing the belly to relax completely. This deep abdominal breathing activates the ventral branch of the vagus nerve, the part of the nervous system that signals safety to the organism. When the body perceives that it is safe to breathe fully, it begins to release layers of chronic tension that were maintaining the state of alert. Most people live breathing only into the chest, which keeps the nervous system in constant protection mode. Breathing into the pelvis is different. It is an act of somatic trust. It is telling the body, there is no threat. You can turn off the alarm. And the body, upon perceiving this, responds. The iliopsoas begins to release. The iliac neck begins to soften. But here comes the third layer, the most important: listening. As you maintain the touch and breathe deeply, sensations will emerge. Heat, tingling, trembling, pulsing. Sometimes old emotions arise without warning, sadness, anger, fear, with no face and no clear story. Do not try to interpret, do not try to name, do not force anything to make sense. Just witness, just allow. The body needs to know that what emerges will be welcomed, not suppressed. This inner witness is what transforms mechanical release into real somatic healing. Because the original freeze happened when something could not be felt to completion, when a response was interrupted, when the body had to shut down to survive. Now, you are giving permission for this cycle to finally complete. Peter Levine, creator of somatic experiencing, showed that trauma resolves when the body completes interrupted motor responses. Freezing is an unfinished action, an impulse to flee or fight that never completed. The ritual of touch plus breath allows this cycle to finally close. The body trembles, releases, recalibrates. It isn't dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle, but it's real. And each time you practice, a layer dissolves. A cellular memory is freed. An ancestral no becomes a present yes. Practice this daily, even if only for 3 to 5 minutes. Consistency matters more than intensity. The body doesn't change by force. It changes by repeated safety. When you touch the iliac neck with presence every day, you are teaching the nervous system that moving forward is no longer dangerous, that manifesting does not result in collapse, that desire does not bring punishment. And little by little, something shifts. The impulse to act returns. The sense of ground for the first step comes back. The dialogue between desire and movement is restored. This isn't just about relieving muscle tension. It's about reclaiming the original gesture of being present and wanting to exist. When the iliac neck is free, the body answers the slightest call of life naturally. Creativity flows effortlessly. Projects that were stalled begin to move. Decisions that seemed impossible become obvious, because the base of creation has gone back to saying yes. And when the body says yes, the universe responds. Creation needs to exist in the body first. The pelvic center needs to agree before any manifestation becomes real. What you are about to hear now is how this showed up in someone's real life, someone who found this point of inertia and learned to dissolve it. And what changed wasn't just the inner sensation, it was the entire reality. Harper was 43 and worked as a body therapist. Ironic, because her own body seemed to have forgotten how to move with will. She woke up with clear ideas. She knew exactly what she needed to do. Write the book she had been carrying for years. Reorganize the office. Call that friend. But between thought and action, something died. It wasn't tiredness. It wasn't diagnosable depression. It was as if her body had learned to say no before she even tried. The discovery came during an advanced somatics workshop in Vancouver, when the instructor mentioned the iliopsoas as the muscle of the soul and asked everyone to locate the iliac neck. Harper pressed the point and felt something that made her stop breathing, not physical pain, but an ancient emotional density, as if she had touched a layer of no that had lived there forever. The instructor explained, trauma is stored where movement begins, and Harper understood. She wasn't stuck in the mind. She was stuck at the base of creation. Over the next 3 months, she practiced the ritual every day. Conscious touch on the iliac neck, breath dropping into the pelvis, listening to what emerged without trying to interpret. At first, nothing seemed to change. Then, small signs. She woke up wanting to walk. She wrote 2 paragraphs without effort. She called people without postponing. They weren't big transformations. They were gestures returning to being natural. The body began responding to her desires with the same fluidity with which it responded to clients' cues in the office. What changed wasn't only internal. Harper finished the first draft of the book in 6 weeks. She reorganized the office in a single weekend. She started dancing alone at home, something she hadn't done since adolescence. People commented that she seemed different, more present, less contained, and she knew what it was. The iliac neck had gone back to saying yes. The cradle of creation had awakened. And when the base of the body agrees, everything that comes after flows without needing to be forced. This same reactivation that changed Harper's reality is what you now anchor in your own nervous system, not as a concept, as a trackable experience that the body memorizes and repeats. The physical marker that proves integration is simple: breath that naturally descends to the pelvis without conscious effort. When the iliac neck is free, air reaches the base of the body without you needing to force it. That's the sign that the freeze has dissolved and the portal of creation has reopened. The gesture signal to anchor this state is this: whenever you feel inertia returning, bring your fingers to the iliac neck, press gently for 30 seconds while taking 3 deep breaths. You don't need to be lying down. It can be sitting, standing, anywhere. This conscious touch recalibrates the nervous system instantly, reminding the body that it already knows how to respond. The point of return is a short phrase, plus breath, plus posture. My center says yes. Inhale deeply while aligning the spine. Exhale, releasing the shoulders. Repeat 3 times whenever you notice paralysis wants to return. What you learned here is not a relaxation technique. It is a return to something that has always been waiting, the original gesture of existing without asking permission. The freeze of the iliac neck wasn't merely muscular tension. It was a no etched so deep that you forgot there was once a yes. When this point frees, it isn't life that changes. It's you who returns to inhabit life the way it always wanted to be inhabited, with presence, with impulse, with embodied will. Transformation doesn't happen because you learned something new. It happens because you remembered something ancient, that the body is the first portal of creation that will must root before it can bloom, that manifesting isn't forcing but allowing. The universe doesn't respond to mental requests. It responds to bodies that say yes. And your body, upon dissolving the freeze at the base, has gone back to speaking the only language reality understands. Somatic presence, muscular intention, impulse that becomes action without hesitation. Meister Eckhart wrote, "God is in all things, but only where he can find a prepared temple does he reveal himself. The body is the first temple, and when this temple is frozen, the creative force that inhabits it remains asleep, not for lack of the divine, but for lack of living space for him to manifest." Dissolving the freeze of the iliac neck is preparing the temple. It's cleaning the altar. It is saying, I am ready for creation to flow through me again. God does not create through disconnected minds. He creates through bodies that agree, through centers that pulse, through bases that support. When the muscular cradle of will is free, you no longer need to force reality to move. You become the point where divine intention meets willing matter. And in this meeting, everything that was jammed finally happens. Not as a miracle, as nature restored. Creation never stopped wanting to be born through you. It was only waiting for you to dissolve the point where you learned to say no. Now that this point has been freed, there is nothing left between your desire and reality, except the movement you have always been capable of, but had forgotten you could make. If this video resonated with you, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to keep receiving this knowledge that transforms from the inside out. If you wish to directly support Transcend's mission and help bring this wisdom to more people who need to awaken the creator body, consider becoming a channel member. Your contribution keeps the flame of this portal of somatic consciousness alive. I want to know, do you feel the point of inertia in your body? Write in the comments, I dissolve the point of inertia of creation, and my iliac neck goes back to saying yes. This affirmation seals your presence on the path of embodied creative force. Share this video with someone whose body still carries the freeze that keeps them from acting. And don't stop here. Click on the screen and dive into another transformative video on the channel. Each freeze you dissolve gives you back a piece of your vital force. Remember, when the cradle of creation is free, you don't push reality, you become the point where it happens.